to be fully self-expressed, to be the real you that you're really wanting to be, it's going to take embracing all of who you are and to love yourself completely. And that includes the good, the bad, and especially the really ugly. Now, it's really easy to love the good parts about ourselves, right? They're the best parts of our body, they're our best personality traits, they're even our talents or our accomplishments. The bad things about ourselves are a little bit more difficult to embrace or accept, but usually we can tolerate that. But the ugly stuff is usually the things that we want to avoid altogether, to forget about, or to hide from other people at all costs, and possibly even hide from ourselves. Now, that's the key to actually embracing all of who you are, to loving yourself and to being fully self-expressed, is actually taking those ugly parts and embracing them as part of who you are. Now, you may think, well, you know, at this point, I can be the real me, except loving these parts. You know, I can keep a couple of them on the side. But there's a huge cost to that. Debbie Ford, who's an expert within this field, she's written several books about this. She calls it the shadow. And the shadow is often something that we as human beings want to hide or avoid. And she calls it the beach ball effect, where we hold a beach ball underwater and to try and keep it from coming to the surface. Now, if we're trying to keep this beach ball, the bigger the ugly, the bigger the beach ball, it takes a lot of energy to keep it down. It takes a lot of time wasted trying to keep this thing hidden from the surface. And it actually creates a lot of worry and stress in our life. So the opportunity of actually allowing that beach ball, to allowing that ugly to come to the surface, can literally free our hands up and free our minds up to really go after what we really want in life and to be ourselves, completely and truly who we are. So I've come up with 5 steps in order to embrace and love the ugly. And I invite you, typically we would have more time to actually stop and really have you talk with another person or write it down as to what that ugly is as you go through the steps. But since we're short on time, we're going to just, I invite you to do it as I share myself and share the different steps. And you'll also hear about my own experience from college and how I love that ugly and what it's given me. Now, the first step is telling the truth to yourself. Now, we can't really change or shift anything unless we actually know what we're dealing with, right? So the opportunity is for you to look at this ugly piece that you're willing to look at now and say, what are your thoughts about it? What are your feelings about it? What judgments do you have? What do you make it mean? What do you get reminded of when you think about this ugly aspect? And as all this starts to come up, it's like literally allowing the beach ball to come to the surface. And the opportunity is to just allow it to sit at the surface rather than want to push it back down. Now, for my own experience from college, the big ugly that I had to deal with was around my sexual identity. And it came up my freshman year in college when I got hit on by someone at a party. I got hit on by a girl at a party. And in the process of that moment, I got sent back 4 years to my freshman year in high school. And there was a note in my locker my freshman year in high school that said, "Stop checking out all the girls in gym, you dyke." And in that moment, I could not deal with the situation. This was 20 years ago. I know it's hard to believe I was in high school a whole 20 years ago, but it is true. And in this process, there was so much homophobia that was going on. I went to a Catholic high school. No one was talking about this. There was no opportunity for me to really feel safe to talk about this. So just like the note, I put it back in my locker. All my thoughts, all my feelings got put into the locker. And I never dealt with it, never told a soul for 4 years. And I continued to get harassed. And every time that beach ball came popping up in my face, I had to push it back down. And I realized much later how much energy and how exhausted I was trying to keep this ugly part hidden. And so when Ileana hit on me 4 years later when I was in college, I realized I couldn't escape. I tried to escape by moving across the country to go to college, but that didn't work either. Murphy's Law, right? It's always going to come back at you. So I took the opportunity to tell my truth. What is the truth that I have about this? And started to share with others. And in the process of that, I realized that I could come out of the closet and talk about what it meant to have these rumors come up about me. Now in the second step, the opportunity is as the thoughts start to come up, you get the opportunity to actually let go of the judgment. And in the process, you look at, now these thoughts are actually just your thoughts. They aren't the truth, like a capital T truth. It's just your thoughts. So if you can start to separate that your thoughts and your judgments are not the truth, then something else in the space can show up. And I realized as I started to talk to other people about it, I realized that my thoughts and my feelings were definitely not the truth, because there were a whole different group of people thinking differently about this whole topic. So in the third step is finding the value. And this value is the key piece in actually transforming and shifting this ugly. Now that there is a new space and you've allowed the beach ball to come to the surface, I invite you to turn it over and look at the side that you haven't looked at yet. And that's the positive side. What is the value of this ugly? What is the gift it may have given you? What are lessons you may have learned? What are personality traits that you may have learned or developed in the process of this? What new perspectives have you come across? And for me, when I looked at my own gifts from this aspect, I realized that, wow, I had a lot of resiliency to be able to deal with this all on my own for 4 years. And I also learned that I got the opportunity to actually explore my sexual identity from a very young age that most people don't necessarily get to. And I also got a whole lot of friends within the gay and lesbian community. Some of my best friends now are within that community, and I can't imagine my life without them. So I'm so thankful that I was able to actually deal with this ugly so that I could get those friends. And the other big piece is I became an ally. In the process of me looking at the truth, I realized I was a straight woman, but I can be an ally even though that I'm straight. And I became an advocate both in college and when I became a teacher, and educating young people about the devastation of what rumors can create. The fourth step is about embracing and integrating. And it is in this moment that you don't really have to do anything except notice. Now for me, as I started to notice the value, there was a shift that had come over me, and there was a quieting that happened in my mind, and there was a weight that came off my shoulders. And there was a peace in my heart. And this fourth step is the most delicious step of them all, I think, just because you can literally see and feel your molecules rearranging about this particular aspect of yourself. And the final step is sharing with others. And the benefit of sharing with others is you actually get to hear and realize that you're not alone in this process. We as human beings all deal with ugly stuff, and we all have these things that we're coming up against. So the opportunity to not feel isolated, to not be alone, is a huge benefit of being able to share it. And you get to get support from other people in the process of it, which can be incredibly beneficial, not having to do it alone. And you also, when you get to share with others, as I'm sharing now, you get to inspire others to feel safe to consider looking at their own ugly, to give them permission to let go and to love that ugly part of themselves, and to be fully self-expressed, to be themselves. So I invite you to continue to look and love the good, the bad, and the ugly.